Hello friends, welcome to the Wonder Who channel. My name is Naja. I hope you're having a great day. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Well, today I am completely dedicating myself to making spaghetti sauce. I used up my last pints of spaghetti sauce last week. So I'm not using fresh tomatoes. I'm using canned whole tomatoes, and I'm using tomato paste as well, okay? So let me show you what I've gotten started so far. I'm using an electric roaster to do this. So far I've put in about 4 tomatoes that I've diced, but I've got these with just a little bit of olive oil, maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here. And I'm letting that saute and get nice and soft. And then I'll add minced garlic. If you look at this table, I've got a lot going on this table. But if you can focus right here, I've got these cans of whole tomatoes. I've got some that are conventional whole tomatoes, and I think I got these for 79 cents a can in a liquidator store. I actually bought a case of these and made a batch of tomato spaghetti sauce with cans of tomatoes before. So I know that this works. So I've got these. I think I paid 79 cents per can. And then I've got these right here that I picked up from a liquidator store called Ollie's, and they're organic. So I picked up 6 of those quite a few months ago. So I normally use about 2 pints of spaghetti sauce when I'm making spaghetti for my family. So this is gonna make a large batch. I don't know how many jars. I'm just gonna have jars clean. Yeah, this is my all-day project. I got up, I got myself ready, put on some fresh pajamas today, and I am not going to go and do much outside in the garden until this is done. I have some other indoor projects that I'm working on as well, but this is my priority because I can't be without spaghetti sauce. We love it. I want this to get a little bit softer so that I can add the garlic, and so that garlic can brown very briefly before I start putting in the tomatoes. Starting to see some browning with some of the onions. So this is a good point for me to now put in the garlic. So I've got this garlic here and it's frozen. I'm just gonna plop it in here and watch it and continue to open up cans of tomatoes. If I haven't mentioned it already, I'm pressure canning this spaghetti sauce. This is using canned products, and I cannot find a recipe that is by the canning authorities that is for canned tomatoes. So what I did was some research, and I did find a creator's video here on YouTube that I've referenced the multiple times that I've canned spaghetti sauce. I believe this is my 4th time canning spaghetti sauce in bulk, and this recipe has proven to be safe, and I'm comfortable using it. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is for demonstration purposes only so that you can see what I'm doing. But I will make sure to include that creator's link to her YouTube video in my description box. So this garlic and onion is looking absolutely beautiful. I can see the garlic browning a little bit. And I think it is time for me to start adding my tomato products. Got that going right here. So what I think I want to do next before I put in some more cans is I want to puree this to make it easy on myself, and then I need to turn it down. And I'm just going to blend these so that I can let this go ahead and help it with the breaking down. All right, since that is blended, I'm going to add the other cans of tomatoes. We like our spaghetti sauce a little bit chunky, more smooth than chunky. So now I have all 11 cans of the whole tomatoes in here. So I'm gonna blend these together. So this is what it looks like with the aromatics and the whole tomatoes that have been blend it with the immersion blender. So then the next thing I'm gonna do is add the seasonings and the tomato paste and things like that. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is add my tomato paste. These are 6-ounce cans of tomato paste. All right, now it is time to add seasoning. All right, the first thing I'm going to add is about 1/8 of a cup of sugar. And then I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of MSG. I'm gonna do some Italian seasoning. So I'm probably gonna do like a tablespoon of this. And then I have got some basil that I dehydrated that came from my garden in 2024. So these tomato basil seasonings are very good. I'm gonna put the whole container that's in here. So it's like half of a container. And then this is black pepper. And you know, keep in mind, this looks like it's a lot of seasoning, but this is 11 cans of 11 28-ounce cans of tomatoes, whole tomatoes. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt because so that's probably like a teaspoon, because the seasoning I just showed you had salt in it, so just want to refrain from that. And then this is something different that you may not see people put in their spaghetti sauce, but it's berbere. It's an Ethiopian spice blend. So I learned when I used to love reading cookbooks, but if I'm quoting the article or the part of a cookbook that I read correctly, Ethiopians eat lasagna as a celebratory dish, and they put berbere in their tomato sauce. So if I'm incorrect about that, please let me know, because I read it somewhere. And so I just think that's interesting. And so I like to add a little berbere in my tomato sauce. There's something different. Of course, if you duplicate this recipe, remember you can do what you want in your own kitchen. In the comments below, let me know what you'd like to put in your spaghetti sauce. Even if you're just making it on a one-time thing. Even if I buy jarred spaghetti sauce from the store, I always add my own seasoning. So I normally go for like a marinara sauce because I want to do my additions to it. Okie dokie, so this needs to cook for about 2 to 3 hours to reduce down a little bit. And so I've turned the temperature down, and I need to have it between 250 and 300. And even at 250, it's bubbling a little quite nicely. So we'll let this do what it needs to do to cook down. I'll come and stir it and taste it as the time passes to make sure it tastes good. It's been almost 2 hours. Let's do a check-in, because my house smells incredible. So I can see that there's been some evaporation of liquid. So we got like another little bit over an hour or so. Okay, the sauce is done. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting this pressure canner set up. And I'm going to use both of my pressure canners. So I'm gonna use the electric pressure canner, and then I'm gonna use the stovetop. I have a Presto 16 quart. So for this regulator right here, when it's fully with all the weights on it, it is 15 pounds of pressure. When it's nothing on it but this, it's 5. So these weights are 5 pounds of pressure each. And so I need 10 pounds of pressure for my elevation. So for regular jars in this pressure canner, I can put in regular mouth pints, and it will be 10 pints. So I've got regular mouth pints, so I know I can pressure can between this stovetop device and my electric canner about 15 pints. So to start with the stovetop one, I need to get 3 quarts of hot water in here. So I'm going to be doing hot packs, so I need to make sure that I have hot product, hot jars, and a hot pressure canner. I'm also going to make sure that my lid is fine. So I did check the seal, and then I put a very thin coating of vegetable oil on the seal. I also looked through the vent hole right here, and I could see through it, but if I could not see through it, I would have gotten a toothpick to poke a hole through that. And then I've also got this. So this is called the air vent cover lock. All right, so there are a few things that you will need to get this canning done properly. So you need to have jars that are specific for canning. It is not recommended to reuse jars like the Atlas jars and things like that that you get like when you buy certain foods and spaghetti sauces and creamy sauces like that that come in those Atlas jars. They are specific to that manufacturer's specifications for their equipment to can. You're going to need lids. So I'm probably going to be using mainly 4 jars canning lids. I don't have anything to do with them, but you know, that's what all the canning community uses. So I have purchased these and have been using them for over a year, and they seem to work fine. I also have canning bands. So for your canning lids and your canning bands, you need to make sure that you wash them. You don't have to have them in hot boiling water or anything like that, but you do need to make sure that they're clean so there's no manufacturing debris or anything on them. All right, and then you'll need a canning funnel. It can be plastic. It does not have to be stainless steel like this one. You'll need a jar lifter to pull your jars out of the canner. And you need a debubbler slash head space measurer for this. Nice. It's nice and thick. All right, so we got this sauce here. I'm gonna take it over to the counter. So I got you situated over here, and then I have sauce. And as you can see, I have some jars here that have come out of the hot water. All right, shall we get started? So I'm just approximating the 1-inch head space. 1-inch head space is right here at this rim, but I will verify that with the headspace measurer. And this is one of those days where I'm grateful that I have multiple apparatus to get this canning done. I would have never thought to use both. However, I've seen a few creators, homemakers, use about everything they can when they're canning. Well, I've seen a lot of that recently, but so I guess it's because it's the summer and they're doing their produce and things like that. So for the amount of canned whole tomatoes that I had, I think I'm supposed to get about 15 to 18-ish, 20 jars. So now what I'm going to do is debubble it, because this does have some chunks in it. So this requires a 1-inch headspace. So now I'm going to check each one. Visually, I know some are not at that point. And so this mark right here, the edge of the jar to this point right here is 1 inch. So the product needs to be able to touch it. So that one doesn't. This one is good. And let's see here. You remove a little bit, add a little bit. You may take some out of one jar and put it in another jar. All right, so we've got all of these jars. So I'm not doing the paper towel with the vinegar yet. I'm just coming through and wiping from the inside to get some of that food that's on the inside of the jar and on the immediate outside off. All right, I think everything looks good here. So next I'm gonna get the vinegar and wipe across the top of the jars. So I've got the vinegar here. You want to make sure that that rim is clean, and so the vinegar helps do that. You should also be inspecting the rims and make sure there's no inconsistencies or imperfections in the rim. Now we move forward with putting the lids on the jars. Okay, perfect. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put the bands on, and bands should be fingertip tight. See? I can open and close it with my fingertips. You need to make sure that the lids go on and that they are making contact with the jar. And if you don't like the way that a band is fitting on the jar or a lid is fitting, then replace it. So I think I'm going to fill up the electric pressure canner first with the 5 jars and get that one going. Okay, the processing time is going to be 35 minutes. So I'm going to put 5 jars in here. So 5 jars. All right, so we've got 8 cups of hot water in this device. And then I need to turn this so that it is showing closed. So right here, this is the lid and the triangle. So they are lining up, and so that's closed. And then I need to make sure that this is on exhaust. I've pressed high, and then the time is for 35 minutes, and then I'm going to press start. And then this is going to automatically come up to pressure with the programming that's set up for this, okay? While this device is doing what it does, we're going to pivot back over here to the stovetop pressure canner and get those jars in. So remember, I've got 3 quarts or 12 cups of hot water in here, and this will hold 10 pint jars. So I'm going to go ahead and put these pint jars in here. All right, I got it. So this is 10 jars. All right, so let's read the instructions on this because I've not demonstrated this one to you before and I haven't used it in a while. If you're using a glass stovetop, just Google really quick or go to your manual for your stove top and make sure that it can pressure can. This particular pressure canner is a Presto pressure canner, and it is compatible with ceramic stovetops. And place the jars on the canning rack immediately after each jar is filled. Well, I didn't do that, so I'll need to remember to do that next time. And then place the cover on the canner, aligning the V mark on the cover with the inverted V mark on the body handle. So this is the V mark on the body handle, and then this is the V mark right here on the cover. So I'm going to get this on. So I'm going to place the V mark on the canner lid and the V mark of the body handle. So they're both aligned, and then I'm going to turn to the left for closing. I'm going to turn to the left, and then it is recommended that you press down. Position the canner on a level burner and range only. Using a high setting, heat the pressure canner until a steady flow of steam can be seen, heard, or felt coming from the vent. Exhaust from the canner for 10 minutes by allowing steam to flow from the vent pipe. Reduce heat if necessary to maintain a steady, moderate flow of steam. So I've got my electric stove on, and I got it on high like it is instructed. So this is the best way for me to be able to get this up to boiling and steaming. This is where the steam needs to come out of this vent pipe. And once it's visible, seen, heard, or felt, then I need to count 10 minutes to make sure that it is consistently doing that. Once the 10 minutes has elapsed, then I can put the weighted gauge on and then count my 35 minutes processing time. So now it's just simply a waiting game for both of the devices. It is now 7:41, and this has moved from the E10 and counted down to get to the right pressure. I have moved the gauge from exhaust to airtight, and then the stovetop is still trying to come to pressure. I have cleaned the roaster out with the sauce that was remaining, so it looks like it'll be about 2 more pints, which I can just put in the electric pressure canner when it has done its processing and cool down time. So that means I'll have about 17 pints of spaghetti sauce that processed. So I think the remaining sauce that I have will fill these 2 jars, but let's see if I'm correct. No, that's not gonna make it. So let me do a little research to see if what I can do to make this one closer to a 1-inch headspace. I really don't want to freeze anything, and I don't want to waste my energy for 1 jar, but I would do it for 2. So let me see what I can figure out. Let me go do some searching on the net. Now I'm sitting here thinking I'm just going to freeze this and remind myself to use this before I use the jar. So I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but it is putting out steam. So now I'm going to count for 10 minutes before I put on the weighted gauge. All right, so I'm gonna stick this in the freezer. So, okay, it is 8:10, and the electric canner has just 6 minutes more of processing time. And then the stovetop pressure canner has put out steam consistently for 10 minutes. So now I'm going to add the weighted gauge. And so the next thing that will happen is this little baby right here has to start rocking and rolling. Once it starts doing the jiggle and it just dances back and forth, and it does that consistently, I can start the timer for the 35 minutes of processing time for this. All right, so now this is dancing. I can go ahead and set the timer for 35 minutes for processing. This is done. It's done its processing time. So all I have to do right now is to let it sit for an hour, but the instructions are to unplug it. All right, it is time. I think everything looks okay over here. Right, so these first 5 look okay. One of them, the lid hasn't popped yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. And now I am over here with the pressure canner. And then these look good. I hear some popping just started happening again. It looks like there's been some siphoning. All right, so there we go. We got 15 jars. So your next step is to make sure that you have these in a place where they don't get moved around. And I have them on a sheet tray that is lined with a dishcloth. And so they'll just sit here and cool off and go ahead and continue their process of sealing. So what I'll do is I'll come back in 24 hours, and any jars that have not sealed, I will address them accordingly. But we're going to be sending out good vibes and saying that I've got 15 jars of spaghetti sauce that were pressure can processed, and then I've got 1.5 pints in a Ziploc freezer bag that I've put in the freezer. So that's a pretty rewarding outcome for working on this all day. So before I close things out, I want to tell you, I hope today is the goodest of your good days, and may everything fall into place for you. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching today's video. I really appreciate you being here. Please remember, if you have any questions or comments, to leave them below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also remember to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I post a video. I hope today is the goodest of your good days, and may everything fall into place for you. Thank you, friends, and I'll see you again next time.